All right, we are plugged in and ready to rock and roll. You're listening to the Crazz podcast with Adam, and joining me today for a chat is Elana Freeland, and we're going to chat about her new book, of course, and cover all the bullet points of this for our listeners out there. Well, it's Saturday the 13th here in Sydney, Australia. Elana, of course, is in the US. Everything's up on my website, crazzfiles.com, so please enjoy lots going up, and of course contact me through the website, if you will, and thanks to the members there. Can't do it without you, and you can support me over on there to help real independent media stay afloat here in very bizarre times, to say the least, but incredible times, Elana, because I was just looking at my website. We chatted, would you believe it, December the 11th, 2016.
Oh my goodness, that long ago.
Yeah, that was chemtrails, HARP, and the full spectrum dominance of planet Earth. That was a podcast. There you go, huh?
Yeah, because then we missed talking about the second book, which was Under an Ionized Sky, from chemtrails
That's
to
right.
space fence lockdown.
That's right. God, man. Crazy times. Well, we'll go over this book. I'm just on your. I've got a Gab account as well, and just for our listeners out there, I'll just go over this. Elana Freeland is a writer, ghostwriter, teacher, lecturer who researches and writes on deep state issues like the 7 geoengineering operations, MK Ultra, ritual abuse targeting, and invasive electromagnetic weapons. She's best known for, yes, chemtrails, HARP, and the full spectrum dominance of planet Earth. And Under, as you said, an ionized sky. So this is all getting into geoengineered transhumanism and, of course, AI, which we've had a big shift in as well, looking at the technology. And your new book, Elana, is Geoengineered Transhumanism, as I just said. So how the environment has been weaponized by chemicals, electromagnetics, and nanotechnology for synthetic biology. So this is something in the podcast we do discuss and bring up, but it's great to have you on, and I know a lot of people are going to really love to read this book. It's a big issue, I know, but I always just say that there's just definitely something going on here with the technology and these inoculation programs and COVID and everything like that. They're really bringing in the technology into Australia. If we could look at like kind of smart cities or smart grids, that are going to be implemented. So in Australia, you really do see on the back of this whole COVID thing that they're bringing in, of course, the IDs and the passports and all that tech. So we're going into that kind of transhuman state, and I always do mention that. And of course, the strange weather events. I'm in Sydney, so you still see the spraying going on and everything every day. So it's right in front of us. We're still seeing it, but you're a great researcher in this. But how have you been through these years? And I got your email a little while ago that your book was coming out. So it's a big landing, I'm assuming, for you to get this out there into the public. How's it all been working for you?
Yeah, well, it took 2.5 years
Boy.
because I think the reason is that suddenly the Wuhan event happened, and then I had to be glued to my computer for quite some time, because if you recall, every day there was breaking news about just what this was and what was arriving in the guise of a virus. And of course, I've known for many years there is no really such thing as a virus or a bacteria, because I studied Chinese medicine in my 20s, thought I was on my way to China to study with someone I had a letter of introduction to become a Chinese medicine doctor. And then suddenly, while waiting for the ship to pick me up in Hawaii, my life took a left or right turn. I don't know which one it was. It doesn't matter, because I certainly have had an extraordinary life since then. So to me, I had to spend the time to really listen to the unfolding of the drama that was announced through the footage we all saw here in the States of the Wuhan event. And as soon as I saw it, with the people dropping just flat onto the streets like pancakes, I realized that I was looking at a 5G 60 gigahertz oxygen depletion operation. And it just fleetingly came into my mind because I had already done a great deal of research by that time on 5G and 6G and what the varying gigahertz frequencies were designed to do or were able to do. So that was when I really started taking a lot of notes, listening to a lot of doctors, a lot of PhD researchers, in order to understand the direction that this New World Order had decided to use to shut everything down, to fulfill their motto, Ordo ab chaos, which means order out of chaos, to draw us down into chaos so that they could then rebuild us as they saw fit. And I also realized it was the big move of the transhumanists to be able to, through jabs, through inoculations, put into people software to go with the hardware that they had been building through the use of the environment, namely the chemtrails that were depositing masses, trillions and trillions of nanoparticles of heavy metals and barium, strontium, chromium, aluminum, etc., in the stratosphere to drop down into our troposphere for us to breathe and also to land on the earth and completely devastate the forests and soil. So I knew that epigenetically, that's the great term to use for this, epigenetically, the environment had been weaponized for approximately 3 decades, with right in front of our faces without us knowing what was going on because of the discovery and development of nanotechnology. And so a lot of what was coming out from regarding the COVID-19 and the doctors and researchers who were themselves in a process of discovery were talking about, now and then you would hear, yes, that nanoparticles are in the vaccines, that many of the artificial gain of function done to the various bacteria and viruses, which are actually, as Dr. Tom Cowan makes very clear in his wonderful book, that just a moment, that he wrote about the fact that virus and bacteria are really only nanoparticles that are waste products, genetic waste products of cells. They're not, they don't subscribe to the genetic or the warfare model of germs that the Western medicine has taken as truth for about almost 300 years now. So it was obvious to me that something that they had decided to ride in on this belief system that big pharma and the medical industry run in America by the American Medical Association, that they had together decided to convince everyone, program everyone, condition everyone for many years now into thinking that we could be under attack by germs, virus, bacteria, rather than see health as something holistic, something that that you can build yourself, and that you can readjust into a more balanced way by yourself through homeopathics, through good eating, through lifestyle habits, etc. Of course, the medical associations and big pharma had for years and years sought to disincline us to believe in that, to make us feel that we were in peril constantly from possibility of contagion, possibility of pogroms, of terrible, like we just went through the pandemic, the so-called pandemic. So you see how the New World Order could use that. What was most shocking, and I'm sure you might agree, is that people so easily bought it and lined up by the millions to receive at the very least an experimental inoculation, and bringing their children and their infants with them. So that part of it I had to think about, and all the research I'd done on electromagnetics, and the fact that, as I said in the second book about the space fence lockdown, that space fence lockdown is achieved through electromagnetics from the experiments that were run by the geoengineers on implements like HARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project up in Alaska, that is basically acres and acres of antennas that were then used to project into the ionosphere high above us, and to pop the electrons off the atoms and turn them into ionized electrons and draw them down into our atmosphere in order to run lots and lots and lots of electromagnetic wireless operations. Of course, they needed tons of particulate matter to do that. You can't have electrical waves in a vacuum, and so that's what we were caught in now, is that these particles are distributed daily up in the stratosphere and fall earthward. Some of them end up in centrifugal force and eventually settle around the equator in what looks to be a ring, and much like Saturn's rings. A radio frequency, obviously a communication device of some sort, and a way to sandwich us all between an electromagnetic space and an electromagnetic on the Earth. And that's what I spent the last book talking about. Then having seen that, and then what happened, and moving my research ahead and ahead and ahead in order to cover enough of what was breaking news. I mean, at a certain point, you can't just go on writing and writing and writing. You've got an end book at some point. I was able to really confirm my basic precepts and tenets that I discuss in the book, 690 pages, I might add, in order to prove to people that the first step in what we're now seeing as, yes, the lockdown, the government moves, but also the inoculations that are now converting the human genome into a transhuman genome of some sort, a hybrid of some sort. The first step was to take over the environment. That's part of this full spectrum dominance. And so the idea was to chemically and electromagnetically and nanoparticle wise take over the entire Earth environment, and make us breathe it, make us eat it, make us live right in it, so that our system, our complete human system, could be plugged into it for the sake of what their plan was to turn molecular biology, which we've had for what, millions of years, into digital biology, whereby you would not need to transfer an actual organic substance like a virus particle or something like that to someone in order to affect them. No, you could just take their frequency, the frequency of that particle, and you could transfer it, transmit it to the person. And that's how all of us are intended to go, so that we can be digitally plugged in through our Internet of Things, through the 50 or 60 hertz in the walls of our homes, through the computers, the televisions, the iPhones, all the nano sensors that are released by the trillions, all of them with microprocessors in them now that are transmitting and receiving from some computer central that is collecting big data, and the computer is involved in machine learning. We are all now plugged in, vaccinated or unvaccinated. The difference between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, whether it's 2 jabs or 3 or however many it will be, is that the people who are being vaccinated with genetic material, this is gene therapy. This is not a vaccination per se that we've all been conditioned to believe in is for our health and to prepare our immune system to defend us. No, this inoculation is guaranteed through the mRNA, of course, and the amino acids to dispel the immune system, not just to get around it, but to literally destroy it, so that that person becomes very prone to whatever transmission is put in them of a frequency of any disease they so choose. And what's going into them is basically the software, along with the genetic material, but the software by which they become transmitters and receivers in a very particular way that is now even called telemedicine, or I think it's called precision medicine, which means basically operations by doctors and health staff at high-tech hospitals to treat people supposedly at a distance in their homes, in their offices, wherever, so that you don't have to make clinic visits, you don't have to visit hospitals, etc. So that's what's going on. And for the non-vaccinated, for the people who are attempting to make a stand for their humanity, for being a human being and not a transhuman, who will have no human rights whatsoever. That's in the patents. You can find at least a half dozen patents that spell that out. The non-vaccinated now, as they make their stand, their immune system is probably weakened as well. And so they would very wisely look at their lifestyle and how they are living in order to enhance their immune system for whatever the next move is for the non-vaccinated. And that's basically what I've come up with. I spend the first third of the book, or more than a third, going over geoengineering itself and how it works, all the way from the 3 operations that are used to distribute, to deliver the infrastructure of the networking, the neural networking, which is synthetic, inside of us. That began back in the 90s with the delivery of Morgellons, that independent scientist Clifford Carnicom did so much research on, 20 years of research. all the way from the Morgellons and the breathing in of the nanoparticles of conductive metals for making us more easily communicated with by computer systems, and the sensors that we breathed in, all of the things that they were experimenting on with us on a nano scale. We simply cannot see them. We do not feel them. But what has happened in America, at least, and I would assume in other nations as well, is that the health of the people has really gone down the tubes. And they are more and more dependent upon more and more drugs and invasive procedures from the medical industry, which is owned lock, stock, and barrel by big pharma families that basically are comprised of genetic pools, eugenics. These people are entirely eugenics positive, in the sense that they watch their bloodlines like hawks, and they raise their children to be dominating leaders, and treat them terribly in their childhoods. These are very old dynastic families that have ended up in the big pharma area, because of course big pharma doesn't just mean over-the-counter pharmaceuticals. It means the drug business, the international drug business itself that I believe the CIA and other intelligence agencies run. It also means the chemicals that are coming from the jets, from the rockets, from the drones that we are breathing in. They're everywhere. They're everywhere in this industrialized and post-industrial and fourth industrial revolution environment. And that's what I try to prove to people in that first section of the book. I include radiation, the fact that Fukushima was no accident, that they wanted radiation, more radiation in the atmosphere, and they're testing everybody to see what that does to the human genome. And so everything has played into this, in part for the secret space program that investment analyst Catherine Austin Fitts has talked about, and has posited may be the cause of the $25 trillion missing from the American budget. The secret space program having started with under Operation Paperclip. And then, of course, President Kennedy had to be gotten rid of so that the secret space program could continue. And that has to do with the full spectrum dominance over the planet. So that first part of the book is looking at all of that. And then the next part of the book is about the smart city. And what is the smart city? And why is it armed? Why is it a dual-use technological armed fortress, basically, and what happens to you in there? And so that's where I name a lot of the various machines that you'll be plugged into if you go in there for any purpose, from mental to physical, and giving you forewarning that it is a dual-use technology, which means it's a military war implement as well as a civilian convenience and medical procedure technology. Then the third section of the book, the final section, is about what has happened regarding genetics and regarding this latest move of the gene therapy procedures, misnamed vaccinations, and what this entails for a transhuman future, as our masters of the universe, who think they control everything, want to actually get rid of the human being, a divine being, an extraordinary being, and replace it with something they can absolutely control and use in the secret space program possibly for space travel, etc. So that's kind of the way I go. I end finally with a chapter of hope called Remaining Human, in which I just discuss a very few ideas about how we need a different type of thinking about this problem than the thinking that is behind having created the problem. And some of my ideas about that, for example, looking at the brain and how it works and what language and thinking really are, how they're basically quantum activities. We're actually dipping into other parallel dimensions when we do these things. That's how extraordinary we are. We are extraordinary in many ways, but they've tried to convince us that we're just slabs of meat, that we're nothing. We're just a little above the animals, maybe, and making us turn away from our divine origins. We who are spiritual beings living in material bodies, attempting to develop free will, a very great enterprise of many millions of years, and now they want to wipe it out and become gods of planet Earth and miniaturize all those into clones, doubles, live through the doppelganger instead of through the human spirit. All of this is something that esoterically, as a student of Rudolf Steiner, I know some of, and I certainly want to write something next regarding what Rudolf Steiner called the eighth sphere, because I think that we are living in the times of a true technological beginning to the eighth sphere, and it needs to be clarified, especially since you remember just recently how now Facebook has renamed itself Meta, and Google's talking about the metaverse. These are all eighth sphere terms for a virtual reality in which we live not as true human beings, but virtually, digitally, and we leave behind so much of our divine origin. I simply really feel strongly that I, for one, this is my watch, and I cannot let that happen without great effort on my part.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That you're just covering so much there that we discuss on this podcast as well. And I always talk about that. I feel like we're at that point in history where it's just so important, that I feel like we're about to cross over into this kind of new transhuman type agenda. And I always say humans, we're very complex, aren't we? Like, we're very emotional, and I feel like, we always talk about the mask wearing, how it's so ritualistic and submissive, submission. When people wear that, they have their heads down, and I feel like everything part of this whole COVID operation has been dehumanizing people as well and breaking them down, not just their health, but, it's like we're seeing this sort of massive, would you say, like a Stockholm syndrome type of agenda,
Yes.
And it's amazing to see, but I do feel like we're at that point where, a lot of us are getting spooked, and, we don't want to travel across into this new system, because as you said, once we do that, it's kind of game over, and I think you're getting a lot of people who want to return, who are getting that feeling, that gut feeling that we don't want to go here and we want to go back to a more of a natural law. We want our rights back. We don't want to be taken down this very, very dark path. So we can see this happening now. So we're at this kind of point in history, definitely, as you talk about there. We're kind of seeing this thing where we're going to either pass over or go back, and we have to do everything that we can to try and stop that. Because people are starting to see it. I can really feel it and see it around me. It's, as you said, it's not natural. I mean, you can, every core of your being, you're like, ugh, what they're doing.
That's right.
It's just ugly and cold, and why would you want to go that way?
But the problem, our real problem lies in there are two technologies that are operant now that are completely have completely taken over in our environment. All right, so the first one is that the electromagnetics, and what's happening now through like a lot of these behaviors that we're seeing, the lining up for the vaccine and for the acquiescence, the slave-like bending to the knee,
Submission.
the masks, all this submission, all of this could easily be, yes, the weakened spiritual will of these people, the weakened will. Yes, that it could be that. But it's also, and we must not underestimate this, it's also the pulsing of frequencies for these types of behaviors. Whole communities now, thanks to the satellites being above us and the infrastructure of the space fence being here on the Earth with the cell towers, the cell phones, the nano sensors in the pavement, in the trees, in the air, in our bodies. All of this is, if they give it the right pulse, then that's a hertz. Then we will behave in a certain way. So that's one of the things against us. We're being pulsed and we don't feel it. We can't see it. Even knowing the concept that it's happening, you have to then counter the programming and conditioning you've had for years and years, that it's simply a matter of you deciding to do this or that. And so if you make that decision, you think that you made the decision, and you may wonder later, why did I decide to do that? Where did that thought come from? How come I'm thinking this way now? And we don't know about the technology that can make that all happen. So that's one of the things we all need to know, so that if we have something going on by which we become weakened, by which we're not behaving in the way that we used to, we're not thinking the way we used to. These are things to pay very close attention to. Now, of course, you can't then say, oh, well, like someone who says, I hear voices, and then they ship them off to the psych ward. We can't really be that open about this yet, because so many people are so ignorant of how electromagnetics work. All right, so that's the first challenge. The second challenge is the nanotechnology itself. It really was never announced at all. The earliest time you can see that it was addressed in an official capacity, that doesn't mean it wasn't addressed by the military and black operations for years before, was in 2002, when it was talked about, nanotechnology was talked about during various Senate meetings. And then it was some money was thrown at it from taxpayer money in America. So yes, the nanotechnology has been around since I'd say the 70s. There's nanoparticles, and let's not be confused. Nanoparticles are everywhere. They're in space. Dusty plasma is really nanoparticles. They're in the soil. They're in the air. That are parts of nature, are simply just sort of like a dandruff of nature or something. But the nanotechnology being retro-engineered, or however you want to see that, that's a whole other ballgame. And the nanotechnology that we have breathed in and that is all around us. It's in our cosmetics, it's in cake mixes, it's in all refined foods, potato chips, you name it, you're eating it if you're eating refined at all. And even if you're eating organic from the soil, from a really wonderful organic farm, what has fallen from the air is on it. And you might think that water could wash it off. Not so. Not so. It actually sort of implants itself. So this nanoparticle thing is very, very serious. I would say to my mind, it's the most serious of all. And the problem with it is that, yes, it's gain of function in some way so that it becomes a transmitter and a receiver. There's a microprocessor in it, a tiny, tiny, tiny computer. Because remember, a nano is 1/1000th of a meter. I mean, you can never see it. But it ends up in everything. And then the next problem is, so what is it? All right, so it's actually, in the nanotechnology sense, it's building nanos with atoms. It's on an atomic level, and you lay 10 atoms, 100 atoms, 1,000 atoms, whatever, next to each other to make one of the particles that you are preparing or weaponizing, and then you bring them all together. Say in our bodies, they arrive, we breathe them in, they go into the body, they recognize each other, they begin to move in swarms. And the Morgellons people used to try, being the canaries in the coal mine of what was coming that nobody recognized, they were busy telling us that they could feel it moving under their skin. And then maybe their skin would then form one of these lesions, and out of that lesion would come a sort of gel-like substance. And then in the middle of that would be several seemingly color-coded wires, very like wires. And they would be just miserable. Their bodies would be fighting like hell to get this out. And so, but nobody recognized it. Everybody thought it was, I mean, you'd go to a hospital and they'd accuse you of delusional parasitosis, they called it, that you're thinking there's something under your skin when really there isn't. You just want attention and all that. So these people had nowhere to turn for about 2 decades. Finally now, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control in the U.S., have recognized the Morgellons condition as a skin ailment, but it's not. It's a blood ailment, because what the Morgellons was, those fibers, those filaments that we were breathing in on a nano scale that we couldn't see really. You could see them at night if you had a really good LED flashlight, and you would just point it up in a direction in a beam, and you could see just masses of tiny, tiny somethings moving and swirling, but of course, you know, we've always breathed in tiny things because we breathe and our lungs manage it and we expel them. And this is different because these are all bioengineered. So the delivery systems of the chemical trails and the GMO foods, very important. I can't believe, I don't know, I assume in Australia people eat GMOs, do they?
I'd say so. Yeah, we don't really
Yeah.
grow this.
Okay,
We don't
so
grow it much, but it definitely comes mixed in the food coming from overseas as
right,
well. Yeah, you wouldn't know if you're buying
because
anything from a packet. Yeah.
there's 26, I think my last count was 26 nations in the world that it is a felony to bring any genetically modified foods or seed into the nation, or certainly to grow it. So 26 nations have their heads screwed on right. The rest of us fall down the memory hole and seem to forget that the name of GMOs, which are the cheaper foods, yes, it says genetically modified. And it's like people don't realize that they're eating unnatural entities, that these foods are not food, and they are not. They may have some small value in them. But again, this is yet another reason, not just what we're breathing from the chemical trails, but this is what we're taking in, ingesting in the name of nutrition. So that's the second delivery. And then the third delivery is the inoculations, the so-called vaccinations. And these three delivery systems have been operating for a long time now, at least 1 to 2 generations, maybe two, let's say 2 generations. So I named the first problem we have, that we can be pulsed with frequencies that have to do with our behaviors, our thinking, our emotions, as you mentioned, emotions. And then the second is the nanotechnology that we are completely ignorant of. And the coup de grace to me of the nano scale is that you're talking the atomic level. Now, the last time you probably, if you weren't a science or physics major in college, the last time you thought about the atomic level would have been, oh, the atomic bomb. Yes, the closer you get to the atomic level, whether you believe there are really atoms the way we've sort of made a drawing of them or not, you're approaching the quantum dimensions of other realities, and they're sort of, the way I picture them is they are sort of in our reality, but in a sort of Russian doll way. They're cupped in each other, and each dimension has a threshold, and that threshold will, of course, be some sort of frequency, vibration, whatever. It'll be very exact, and the nanotechnology, because of its swarming, has a certain consciousness of its own. Not the individual nanotech nanobot. No, they are not individual in the sense of being able to operate as individuals, but they become very mighty when they operate in swarms. And because their consciousness is what we would call a swarm consciousness, it's not really a consciousness of this dimension. It's a consciousness of another dimension. And I don't know what that dimension is, but I know that that they are very much at the threshold between this world and other quantum dimensions that I don't know quite how they operate. And I think people at CERN might know a little bit about that, because they've spent a lot of money and a lot of time opening dimensions in quantum worlds. So now here's my problem. We have these entities in us, and their proclivity is to form swarms. So by forming swarms, if they receive the right programming from a distance, remote programming through their little computers, they're probably doing what Morgellons began, which is forming neural networks in our bodies for an alternate transmission. Now, that transmission could come from satellites, Elon Musk satellites, Google satellites, Department of Defense satellites, because there's thousands and thousands of these up there, not just Elon Musk's. And they could come from a guy sitting on a laptop computer in Denver. Or, hey, they could come from another dimension. And a dimension which is completely virtual, completely of a form that is completely inorganic, has nothing to do with natural or nature, something completely anti-human, and looking at us like bugs. So we don't know. We just don't know. And neither do the nanomaterials PhDs graduating by the hundreds now. No, we don't know. So where does this leave us? Well, it leaves the civilian, who is the guinea pig, the primary guinea pig, in a quandary of trying to live a natural life in an already altered atmosphere, already altered, an already altered Schumann resonance. No longer is it 7.83 hertz. It's all over the place because the geoengineers are constantly fiddling with it to change our frequency, our brain's frequency, because our brain frequency was 7.83 hertz. So you see our problem. We're completely plugged in now as we awaken through this inoculation drama going on. Is it too late? Well, it's too late for some things. Yes, it is. It isn't enough to go out in the streets and cry out freedom anymore. There are a lot of ways that we can be controlled now that are all digital and electromagnetic because of what's in our bodies. But now begins another challenge, which to me is, in a dangerous sort of way, exciting. The Chinese say that the word for crisis is, the character for crisis is danger and opportunity. Well, I see the opportunity here is that we must somehow develop a relationship with the nanotechnology in us, and we can do the electromagnetic amelioration to some degree. You find out that there's a 5G, 6G system going on. A lot of people think it's not where they are yet. Well, that's really nonsense because the 5G system is being put up on 4G towers or masts. It's everywhere. So I would rethink that. But meanwhile, you're looking at your technology. Should I have this technology? Should I not have it? Is it contributing to my humanity? Is it just an entertainment device that is kind of fun? And maybe I ought to get rid of that because it's all radiation. And all the radiation, my human body is not equipped to handle, even non-ionized radiation. So I think we need to make some hard decisions as to what our priorities are. And at the same time, develop a communication or some sort of relationship with the nano swarm consciousness that has been loosed in our bodies. We can get a lot of the nanos out, but here's the problem. You go out tomorrow and you're breathing. I assume you'll be breathing, and you're breathing in trillions more because it's endless. At this point, the technology from the stratosphere is endlessly nano. So what's our plan? And that's my plan. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying I'm trying to figure out a way, because I know that I, as a divine human being, and I am, I know that. I don't want to get into a debate with anyone, but you either know it or you don't. I know it. All right, I'm a divine being. I have an extraordinary consciousness. I have a very good mind too, but it's my consciousness that's going to make the difference here, not just my mind. And I can move that consciousness to go in different places and do different things. But most of us become too comfortable, or we're struggling so hard to pay the mortgage or take care of the children that we don't really take the time to develop our consciousness. But now maybe we have to set aside some time in order to direct our consciousness to a certain intention that we have to actually have a contact with these lower life forms, namely nanobots, nanotechnology. Yes, they were man-made, but they are very much of a drone nature. They are a lower life form, a lower inorganic life form, I might add, because there are all sorts of patents now for inorganic life forms. So I need to somehow connect with them and make clear to them their boundaries within my biological body and my biological brain, so that I can retain my immune system and retain my consciousness as a human being, human consciousness, not swarm consciousness, not computer consciousness, but human consciousness. So this is the challenge I've set myself, Adam, is to be able to maybe report in a while. I've been doing this now actively for about 6 months in my own way, my own sort of self-discovery way. I don't have a technique that I can put out there and everybody follow it. No, we're all sort of lab technicians now in our own vials, in our own petri dishes that are our bodies and brains and consciousness. And what I have seen so far is, oh yeah, I'm doing very well. And I'm not having any trouble. I used to feel them moving. And I think a lot of people could say that if they knew what it was. You might feel a pinch or something inside the body. You might feel emotion. It might come out in some sort of symptom that you have, maybe a rash. Whatever that you want to run immediately to the doctors for and take another drug. Well, that's not going to help you. You cannot kill nanotechnology. I'll tell you that right now. Clifford Carnicom found that out years and years ago. So there's got to be some other way of grappling with these two major problems in the electromagnetic problem and the nanotechnology problem. And that's kind of where I would leave it, because I wanted to inform you of these two technologies that we really, really need to learn about so that we can take care of ourselves and not run off to the smart city, 5G, 6G hospitals, doctors. They have proven to be very untrustworthy in the West, very untrustworthy. I myself have not been to a doctor since I was 13. I'm 74. I use Chinese medicine. I take care of myself. I very much live in a disciplined manner so that I can write these books and fulfill my God-given task here while I'm here. And now I'm going to pay more and more attention to this invisible realm that Rudolf Steiner has helped me to learn to think my way through what he calls sense-free thinking. And I invite others to join me in this. I mean, it's an adventure. This is the opportunity part of the dangerous crisis facing humanity today. There is an opportunity to really develop your consciousness. And it is my recommendation to everyone that they should try very hard to develop their consciousness before death, because once you die, you can't do much. You can't do a lot of things you can only do here. Do you understand that? It's not like you're going to have some easy time on the other side. Kind of cruise for a while, the pearly gates and the cute little cherubims and things. No, it's we have an opportunity here that we will need in the future. We need people to be all hands on deck figuring out this technology, despite the fact that the bad guys, the masters of the universe, will not share their information with us because they know that knowledge is power and they don't want us to have any of that power. So we have to kind of inductively put it all together ourselves. And, I'm up to the task of one tiny individual here, but a relatively powerful individual. And I'm laying it on the altar of the future of humanity, because I love humanity. I don't blame humanity for a few bad apples that people have let run riot without stopping them much sooner than now. Humanity itself is, to me, the human virtues. When you meet a real human being, someone who has achieved real humanity, you are probably in awe of that person because they are moral, they're noble, they have humility, they use power well. I mean, they have all the virtues, and we all have to strive to be like those humans, whether we're paid for it or not. Who cares about money? It's we've allowed them to convert our values into something inhuman. We need to take those back so that we can work for the future generations, counting on coming here to the earth to work on their humanity under sometimes very difficult circumstances, as every era has had its difficult circumstances. But I do think that this nanotechnology is a first. In all of human history, I think this is a first.
Yeah, yeah, it's boy, yeah, unbelievable, isn't it? And well, before we plug out your, what would you, at sort of a soul level, our consciousness? I've brought this up in some shows. We're talking about afterlife experience, or what may happen, when we pass over it, when we finish our time here. Can this be ever interfered with, in any way, or is it uniquely always ours, our consciousness? Is it something that can be manipulated in any way or stolen?
Well, yes, you mean the soul.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You sort of think
Yes.
where they're going
Yes,
with
it
this
can
technology.
be. It can be manipulated. It can be interfered with.
Can it be
And,
taken, or is the...
and I think it can be taken. Yes, I
Wow.
do. It's Rudolf Steiner who said, he was quoted early on in this debacle we're in now by Dr. Tom Cowan and Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt, when they quoted Steiner as saying 100 years ago that a vaccine would be created, that once you took it, you would no longer think of spiritual things. And I'm really afraid that this is it, and that the changing of the genome is one thing, but whatever is happening to the immune system, I tend to think now that the immune system, which we all speak of as if we know what it is, and we know when it's there and when it's not there, I think the immune system is something that belongs to our higher self. It is the higher self operant in the physical body. Why else have they bent over backwards for several decades to destroy the human immune system? And I believe I proved that in this book, that they have intentionally, that has been what they have set out to do, they being the global elites. So yes, I think that the soul is imperiled. And I think we're going to meet, or we're meeting now, people who are no longer human, not just the vaccinated, but people who have forsaken what is human in them for baubles and bangles that will not serve the soul, and that various entities have moved into them and are operating through them, because nature abhors a vacuum. So what has moved into the vacuum of their humanity? Much like the Fauci and the regular cast of characters that we see in the news. I died when I was 22 in a wave at Makapu on Oahu. I was body surfing, and I was arrogant. I didn't have a spotter. No one was on the beach but me. It was an overcast day. And I missed the wave, and it began to tumble me. And the beach there at Makapu had a very steep incline. So I got tumbled, and I just could not find the top. I couldn't find it. And so finally I heard this little voice say, "You're going to die now." And then I began to shoot down a tunnel, which later I read about. It seems to be a common theme that people see when they die and come back. The tunnel, I was speeding down the tunnel thousands of miles an hour, and at the end was this beautiful luminous light. And I was so excited. I was getting more and more excited. I'm going home. I'm going home. And then suddenly I started going backward. And I was, no, 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 I don't, no, don't, I want to go. I want to go home. And then I ended up, and I have no idea how, because I had been washed out pretty far, I think, from the shore, but I ended up on the shore. And I had ripped the skin off the front of my body all the way to my pubic bone. I must have hit the sand at a velocity. I don't know how I didn't break my back. I really don't. But I was sad for a few days that I'd come back. And then I realized, no, no, no. You're young and you have a job to do. And that's exactly what was true. And I had a lot of work to do before I could do that job. But I am fully on the track now. Everything is completely clear to me. And I'm so grateful that I died and that I came back.
Yeah, she's amazing. We've done lots of podcasts with a great guy, Wayne Bush. He's in Texas about NDEs. He researches that. It's just amazing listening to all these thousands of experiences like this, that you've had there, and this special place that people see or get a glimpse of or go to and come back. It really has interested me so much over the years talking about that, this experience that people are having, and that's what I was wanted to ask you there. Can that be taken away from us, because that's
Yes.
or no matter how bad things become for certain people, when they die, they go to their afterlife experience anyway, no matter what, because it's like it can never ever be taken away from you in any possible or conceivable way. But then I'm looking at this future that sort of seems like Blade Runner, type of situation,
Blade Runner.
Yeah.
I mean, that great scene in Blade Runner
Crikeys.
of the transhuman saying, I've done this in Mars, and I've been there, and I've been here, and yet, what was his greatest desire? His greatest desire was to be human.
That's right.
Yeah, that's who we are. That's who we are, and we have got to live that, not just think it once in a while or see it in a movie. It's got to be how we live here to become strong. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Boy, so much to discuss. Anyway, I'm sure there's so many levels. I was gonna ask you earlier on in the podcast as well. Just with you were mentioning this nanotech, the dust that's going all over the woodlands and forests. I guess that's another whole thing, because just looking at what was going on in California and Australia with the bushfires, a lot of people said that this stuff is accelerating them.
Yes,
so they just can't fight them anymore. They just let them go.
You actually can see
My
in the
God.
footage of these fires. These are all geoengineered fires, and I have a chapter on geoengineered fires in the book.
Oh, good. Okay.
They are completely geoengineered.
Oh, it's horrible.
What you see on the ground, that's where I first saw the nano swarm very clearly, was I saw something moving on the ground. I thought I think it was some sort of filming going on by a drone. I could see this sort of phalanx of what looked to be like embers, and I thought they were embers. I thought there was wind, and the wind was blowing the embers this way and that, and it was all kind of crazy. But the more I looked at the embers, the more they didn't behave like embers, and that's when I realized, oh my God, I'm looking at a swarm of nanoparticles, and what they were doing is they would come to a house that had been someone had decided would be burned to the ground, and they would crawl up the wall, and they would ignite the entire wall, and they would continue. And then when they were done with that house, they would march off and then go do another house and skip maybe one or two houses in between. So it was very specific. and it was programmed nanobots that were involved in that. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, this technology is, well, even the guy who invented it, Eric Drexler, when he first came to his idealistic way of thinking, oh, this is great. We'll have, on an atomic level, we'll have nanos building everything that we need, buildings, rockets, everything. And we'll have more leisure time to develop our full potential. That was his idea. But in the back of his mind was a fear that in the wrong hands, and maybe he had the military industrial intelligence complex in mind, in the wrong hands, these nanos could actually eat the entire natural environment. And that's what they are. They're microphages, I think they're called, something tiny that just munches its way through its life. And so this is a very great weapon, but it's very tiny. You see, we tend to think tiny is no big deal and big is the problem. No, now it's tiny is the problem. And that's exactly what this technology could be, the most amazing weapon that the global elites have ever had.
Yeah. Boy, absolutely. Yeah, and what was done to Australia was hell. It was just hell on earth. What happened here?
Yes.
It was just crazy and very similar to what you saw in California as well.
Yes, and Portugal. Portugal at the same time as California. The exact day.
That's right.
Day.
I mean, that was just, they were just burning this country. I mean, it was just there was no sense to it. It was just what they did. What happened was unbelievable, and that's not bushfires. The heat, they couldn't fight them. It was just hell. It just looked like hell. And there was all those bizarre things going on. With, like you saw in California, the very almost like energy type weapons or something. You could see a lot of that. It was just crazy what was done. Absolutely sickening. Absolutely sickening. The animal life and just billions of. It was just crazy. I mean, the smoke. It was horrible. It is. To be in this country at that time was just what has been done. I just want a big portal to open up somewhere to suck all these evil things into these creatures down into there and leave us alone, But
right.
It's just incredible times. I guess as well, a lot of people are wanting to move out and get properties and get out of cities and away from the 5G towers and stuff. As you said, they're going up, and when they locked us down. In Australia, when we had the lockdowns, particularly last year, and everyone thought, oh, there's a virus out there, boogeyman virus is going to get me, and they were inside with their technology and watching TV and stuff. But when I emerged from this and I started driving around the neighborhoods, these 5G towers were just everywhere, and I grew up in these areas, so you could see them very clearly. They put them up when we were in lockdown, and I know that happened in a lot of places, so a lot of people getting bit agitated now and wanting to go out to away from the cities, which I think is a better idea. Although this stuff's everywhere, I know. I just think it's a better idea if people can or do have that option to get out of cities. If you're in Australia, particularly, because they're going to be smart cities grids. They're already implementing all this facial recognition camera and software and everything everywhere, so it's all coming in. I think it is better to move out if you can.
Well, it is as long as you understand that.
If you understand,
a matter of finding the safe place, the safe port. There is no safe port when you have nanotechnology inside your body. There is no safe
follows
port.
You.
The main thing is, what will it take to make a human stand? Whatever it takes you to do, you must do that. That's how I look at it. And if it means being in a city, then you're in a city. And that's where you do your work. Just like someone working in the middle of a leper colony, like Father Damien on Molokai in Hawaii in the 19th century. You simply do your work where your humanity has been called to be human. That's how I look at it.
That's right. And just before we go, is there anything that for our listeners that you may recommend to, if they're trying a lot of these steps we mentioned today, that may help? Is there anything you would recommend that help to at least with the immune system to cleanse some of this stuff out? Maybe at night or something you can do to help get this.
There's a lot you can do, but it's all on the internet now as one individual after another is trying this and trying that and communicating. And I mean, you have to really, I of course attract a lot of people who are telling me what they're doing and are looking for answers. I always recommend a Canadian herbalist named Tony Pantalaresco. Tony has been working on ways to get the nanotechnology out of the body for the past 10 years. And he has found some very easy things to do for maintenance, such as the bath I take twice a week. I could take it more if I had symptoms, but I don't, which is 1 cup of baking soda, 1 cup of Epsom salts, 1 cup of sea salt, and 1 cup of borax or boron. Just to make a nice either hot bath or a warm bath, whatever is your proclivity, and be in there 15, 20 minutes to just let the body sort of percolate in a very mildly electrolytic bath. As I told you, the nanotechnology hates alkalinity, loves acidity. This is a very nice bath to just relax the whole body, let the stress of the day go, because stress creates acidity. And I do that before bed. Another one is the ionizing foot bath, where you put vinegar or some other agent into a foot bath and just treat your feet through, you plug it in and it's, again, electrolytic. Tony uses magnets. He has 2 or 3 sites that you can go to and see. He has a show every week, or maybe every day, I don't remember. And so he's working on it, a guy named Lookout for Charlie. It's Look Out for Charlie, and he's a targeted individual, and he has a whole bunch of things he does because he's actually being hit with electromagnetic weapons. So a lot of us are doing things. I highly recommend people turn their routers off at night. It's easy to do. You can plug it back in the morning. Think about who's next door to you. Are you sleeping right next to their big screen TV on the wall or what? Is your bed filled with metal? Is your mattress, does it have metal in it? Probably don't want that because it'll act as an antenna. It's like learning to live around technology. If people have cell phones still, I'm recommending people get rid of their TVs and cell phones. They're just weapons systems and programming systems. I have a computer, obviously, because I write, and that's dangerous enough. And so I have it surrounded by all sorts of Wilhelm Reich holy hand grenades and various things people have given me to protect me. Just the whole Wilhelm Reich orgone thing, there is power in that because it's completely a technology about ether, the real ether, and using it to protect yourself. There are lots of things that we have not taken seriously that maybe, the scientific mind has pushed over into the new age as being ha, ha, ha. Well, it's not ha, ha, ha anymore. We need natural, low-tech solutions to the high-tech that is not just around us, but is inside our bodies. This is the key. So I recommend people be an explorer, be an experimenter, and share what you found. and because we're just beginning to come up with solutions.
That's right. I've got some orgone energy pods and things, and phone shield, little pyramid here from Fix the World Morocco. I spoke to Hope and Taval about that, and they sent me these beautiful products, these sleeping pods that you put under your pillow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For EMF protection. They hand make them in Morocco. They're really nice. So it's good to have these things around, and your routers and everything. So very good advice there. And do you take the bicarb soda? Do you just soak in it, or is it something that you take every day as well?
No, I just soak in it.
Yeah, you don't drink it. It's quite strong,
food.
isn't it?
My way is I'm not a supplements taker because
Right.
I find supplements are, a few supplements might be fine, like B12 or something, but the problem is that in supplements, the liver needs to break down all those supplements, which are really just good for you drugs, extremes of a natural product, you might say. So I pretty much use food. Because of the Chinese medicine that I studied, I use food as a medicine, and I keep an acid-alkaline balance in the things I eat, not going too acidic, and then being a little more alkaline, that sort of thing. And it's yin and yang. That's really what yin and yang means. And I just go. It's a habit of 50 years now. I've been doing this, and it really works.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I tried to do that as well. Have raw bee pollen and things without too much supplements. I might just take a couple of things. I like to take magnesium oil from the salt bed lakes here in Australia. They dig that up, so you rub it on your skin. It's like pure magnesium oils we get in Australia.
Right. But just as long as you know, Adam, that when I say food as medicine, I mean the entire diet. The entire
everything.
diet
Yeah.
is what I weigh. And I don't eat a lot of meat because, think about it, the animal is ingesting the same things we are, and then you eat its flesh or drink its milk or eat its products, and now you're doubling up what you've taken into your body. Do you see how that works?
Yeah.
So it might be something people want to think about in their meat regime. It's not because I'm not one of those people that thinks eating meat is evil or anything, but I do think of it that way, that eating the animal may not be such a great idea now. And having just a little bit, like I have maybe fish once a week or chicken once every 3 weeks or something.
Right.
And otherwise I'm eating brown rice, I'm eating lovely organic vegetables, beans, seaweed, miso soup. I think food is just one of the best things going, especially now that I'm older.
Yeah.
And all the other sorts of appetites have sort of fallen away. I do love a good meal that I know is good for my immune system.
Yeah, and it's nice to cook, isn't it? Cook everything yourself at home. We never buy stuff out, and I try to get everything fresh and make it here. And it's nice to do that process and sit down and eat it. I'm a big veggie guy. I love that.
Very good.
You can't beat fresh vegetables. The roasting them in the winter and the soups and things like that. I try to make a bit of broth too, or bone broth soups if I can. Like chicken soups here and there, but it's all and it's cheap, and it's amazing. The supermarkets, you see what people fill their shopping trolleys with, all this packet cereals and just all the Coke and just wow.
All those packaged cereals, they're just loaded with nanobots and nanoparticles.
That's right. Yeah. That already came out in Coca-Cola and Pepsi. The studies were already done. The fluorescent nanoparticles they isolated in there. So, they said this stuff was lodging in parts of the brain and people are drinking that crap,
Surprise.
Yeah, and then I think, well, if it's in there, then what else is it in? So, and the amount of money people spend, the hundreds of dollars for their shopping, and you're just like, my God, I'm trying to sort of just go back to the local markets and get what you need for the week, have it, and then get it again, and spend less and not buy all that stuff because you just don't need it. Everything's in a packet now. and just artificial, terrible stuff, and not good for your body and your immune system, as you said. So there are things we can do and lots to talk about, but anything you want to finish on today?
Well, just to say to people that they can get the book. I mean, I'm having trouble with Amazon right now, but if you give it a few days, it'll probably be back up. It's going up, down, up, down. I don't know if it's being manipulated or what. But you can also just go to your bookseller and have them order from their distributor. And then otherwise, there's an ebook version for people down under who may not want to pay all that shipping. Sorry about that. And that's about it. My site, you can buy the book from my site as well, I believe, maybe, is the elanafreeland.com. And that's a lovely site put together by my web mistress. She's worked very hard on that site and has to continue working hard because so many things are being removed.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it is now.
Yes. Yeah, we're terrorists.
Yeah,
You're not allowed
exactly.
to question anything. Yeah, it is happening. Do you send copies out signed or anything for people, or it's all done online?
Well, I signed 300 copies for the pre-orders because there were 300 pre-orders, and I can sign more. It's just that my book, the only ones I've done are the ones that are not mass distribution, the ones done through the Rudolf Steiner bookstore in Seattle, Washington. He's handling the color editions. These color editions are a few dollars more than the mass distribution model. And he's 60 miles from me, so I can go there and sign books if I so choose. So that's pretty much how I do it.
Yeah, right. Some guests that I speak to, they'll actually send them in the mail to listeners if they want them. Like, so they would, but it just depends on some. It's all done online. Depends who distributes it and everything.
Right.
But
Yeah, no, I'm not keeping piles of the book here.
yeah.
I'm letting the online thing do its job
work. Yeah,
so that I can move on to the next thing I'm writing.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing. Is an Amazon is not ideal and everything, but it's such a powerful tool. So if you can use it, might as well. And if it works, that's good.
Yeah, but I didn't go on. I didn't publish it through Amazon. I published it through an outfit here called Ingram Spark, and Ingram Spark includes Amazon
Yes.
in the distributorship, and I believe Australia is part of that distributorship. I'm just getting to know Ingram Spark, but I purposely left Amazon. But again, most people think, oh, Amazon, I'll look there. And that's why I need to have the book working through the Amazon site, but it's not the only place to get it at all.
Absolutely. I'll put up your links and website link of really nice website there with lots of info on there anyway. And
Okay.
that's great. Covered a lot of great points today, and thanks so much for chatting with me. The book is Geoengineered Transhumanism, Elana Freeland. I'll put that info up for the listeners out there. And went a little bit over today, but covered some extra ground, which is very important. So very nice chatting with you, and I'm sure we'll catch up for your next book.
Well, thank you so much, Adam, for having me.
Thanks so much for coming on.
And I want Australians to know I think of them often.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Yes.
Strange times here. We move forward as best we can and continue.
That's
And great work on getting this huge book out. And I know it must be very thrilling for you to finally get it up and have it out and done.
Yes.
And it's going to be a big read, and that's good as well that you offer that other version for people. I like ebooks; I get them too, and some people do prefer that, and it's easier, especially being all the way here in Oz, and the shipping costs and everything. So it's good you've done that, and enjoy, folks. And I'll put up your details, any contact, but I think that's all through the website anyway, looking very good, and there's heaps of info on there, and I'll put up your Gab and things like that. I know you got tossed off Facebook and stuff, so any other links that you can think of, just email them through that you want me to attach. If there's any other links, anything specific or important, and I'll attach them in as well.
All right. Thanks so much, Adam.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Okay.